Hi, everyone. Welcome to Doc to Doc episode 23. Today we're going to talk about exercise and a whole bunch of different aspects about exercise and get into a little bit of terminology and technical, but also talk about ways to exercise and how to keep your cardiovascular system healthy and how exercise is so important to preventative medicine and longevity. So I will kick it. I just wanted to say also, if you like our videos, please subscribe and hit the like button on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. And I will kick it over to Abbas to start out about the importance of exercise.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be here again today. Exercise is very important for overall health and well-being of every individual, regardless of the state of their health. If you look at many guidance, shows that increasing activity helps with the longevity, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, better control of diabetes, stress, and mood disorder, as well as possibly preventive colon cancer or many other cancers in every individual. So everybody talks about exercise, how much to do it, how long to do it. Many guidance, and they explain the moderate exercise. What is moderate exercise? Is exercising about 30 minutes per day, or on average 150 minutes per week. And that can be done by many different modalities. It can be as a brisk walking, it can be weight training, it can be combination, it can be done gardening or any household activity such as vacuuming, other things in swimming. So as long as we get out of the couch and do some movement and increase our heart rate, and there's many different modality to measure this, whether for scientific purpose or some athletic purposes. But in general, as long as you be able to talk comfortably while you're doing your exercise, this is moderate exercise. And Rob will go through more of detail of this testing, but overall, you got to do it. You got to do at least 150 minutes per week of moderate or 75 vigorous exercise. Depends on your ability. And as Rob will mention, there's modality if you're more wanted to know exactly what it is, or you're very athletic, you want to know what are these things means. We'll explain those, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, well, great. And it's as preparing for this, only about I found out that only about 28% of Americans are getting that recommended 150 minutes of moderate exercise, 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity exercise, or 75 to 150 minutes of exercise per week. So this is a huge opportunity here to improve, and as the boss said, there's multiple ways to do this. It doesn't necessarily have to be, a specific type, or running or jogging or other. It doesn't have to be that. It can actually, in amazingly, we'll talk about with zone 2 exercise. It's just like a fairly walking or a slightly brisk walk. It can be enough just to be of extended duration. We'll talk about the duration that's recommended of this, but it doesn't have to be, anything that's necessarily painful. And actually, it can be quite fun to do this. So we'll talk about this. I thought we could start out with the discussion about something called VO2 max, and this is something that it's a technical term of exercise, but what it is how much oxygen your body can utilize in a minute per kilogram of body weight. And so this is actually what what you're doing when you exercise is you're actually trying to improve your VO2 max. And what that is in just to straightforward layman's terms is aerobic exercise. So this is when you're breathing and you're metabolizing oxygen, turning it into carbon dioxide. How much oxygen can you convert into carbon dioxide in a particular amount of time? And with training, this will improve. We know as you get older, the VO2 max decreases. And so one of the ways that you can try to reduce the impact of aging and prevent that age-related frailty. We all see old, sometimes older people, but sometimes even young people, they have a hard time, walking just 50 feet or 100 feet or a short distance, a block. And so VO2 getting a baseline and then being able to study that improvement with training is really helpful. And so the formal testing of this is done more for elite athletes. You can also do it, estimate it. Some of the fitness centers will do VO2 max training, and it's usually it's a test. It takes about 15 minutes, and what's become popular now is submaximal VO2 max testing. So that looks at exercise, but you're not maxing out until you're basically can't exercise anymore. You're just looking at that level where the body switches over from aerobic using oxygen to anaerobic, not using oxygen. And then when you get to that maximal level, that's the VO2 max. So that's kind of a important term here. And what we're doing with exercise is basically trying to improve that. Not necessarily measuring the number, but you can feel this if you have ever trained or started some exercise. It's really hard at first, and it gets easier with time. And what you're doing is improving your VO2 max is basically what's happening there. That's why you can go a little bit further or a little bit longer in the exercise without feeling like you can't go anymore.
Yeah, I was going to make some comment. This is in general terms like conditioning. So as we was at do any exercise, the beginning is very, very hard, and whether we're jogging, whether it's hiking, whether things or the beginning of the summer. And I think this is just keep yourself in a good condition as event happen as we get older, so we can continue to live longevity. One of this talking to a friend of mine, he's a bicyclist, says the people they was at a Tour of de France, they usually they measure they know sort of ahead of time who has the optimal Vmax, and they usually know these are the guys that are going to win. So it's very interesting, but we don't have to do all of that. We just have to just keep ourselves in a good condition through our life.
And as we were preparing this, Abbas made a comment about the term "bless you" or "God bless you," and I thought maybe you want to explain that for the listeners.
Yeah, maybe the ancient culture, they knew something. They thought will come with certain amounts of air or oxygen in our body, and when it's run out, that's sort of when we pass out. So through the lifetime, so if you sneeze or pass anybody there, they thought that would decrease the oxygen or air in there. So that was sort of the term of, in many Asian culture, God bless you. It means hopefully that you live a little longer life, even you sneeze or pass any air. So it's very interesting. Even the ancient time, they knew that probably when your Vmax is diminished, that's sort of that your body start deteriorating. So this is whether it has any relationship with it, but that's very interesting when you look at the ancient cultures. And actually, if you look at the blue zones or people that live long life, they keep activity every day in a group. If they cannot do it, it doesn't have to be good jogging and stuff like that, but they do group walking or group activity, dancing, ritual to keep that conditioning going on.
Okay, that's a great segue into the cardiac zones. So zone training. Heart rate, using heart rate as a way to gauge work is basically what we're talking about here. So formally in cardiology, this is something called METS, METS, and that's how we measure how much work someone is able to do on like a treadmill test. We have them truthfully running on the treadmill. We're doing an EKG. We're measuring how much work they did and seeing if there's any EKG or cardiac changes as they do that work, how many METs they got. But that's not really applicable to everyday life. But zone training is, and it's quite easy. Basically, you're looking at the percentage of maximal heart rate, and it's so the very basics of this: 220 minus one's age is considered the maximum heart rate. It's not really recommended to be exercising at that level for any, you can hit that level as part of your exercise regimen. That's really vigorous. That'd be like zone 5, high intensity exercise, interval training, for example, something like that, HIIT training, high intensity training. That can be done. But that's really not what's needed for longevity. And what we've found in various studies and just both retrospective and prospective studies, looking back and also looking at studies of how individuals do with different types of exercise, zone 2, which is light to moderate exercise, is probably the most important. And zone 2 training is heart rate in that 60 to 70% of maximal range. And one of the keys is with zone 2 is it's actually kind of light exercise, like hiking or brisk walking. It's actually easy to just blow right through it. And you would think, oh yeah, this is not important. I'm going to get to zone 3 or 4, get my heart rate up. But actually zone 2 has some unique benefits. And that the reason that is because during zone 2, you're actually burning primarily fat. Whereas in the higher zones, you're burning carbohydrates. And so when you're burning fats, that's when a lot of the benefits of exercise are seen. And so I just had a couple of things here about how to know if you're in zone 2. Formally, there's something called the Maftone formula where you can actually measure. It's 180 minus your age, and there's some modifications you can make based on if you have any concurrent illnesses or other health issues, you can add and subtract to that. But basically, for example, for like a 40-year-old individual having a heart rate in the 130 ish range is probably 130 to 140 is probably the proper heart rate for zone 2 training. And that it's going to be individual, so it's not a one size fits all. And one very easy way to do this is if you can have a conversation, and you can easily do the activity and call a friend or call someone in your family. And if that person can hear you breathing a little bit, or you have to, like, after you talk, you have to take a breath, that's when you know you're in zone 2. So it's a very easy way to do this in your everyday life. If the other person can tell, or if you have to take a breath after you say something, that's when you know you're in that zone 2 or near the zone 2. And the idea is to stay in zone 2 for at least 45 minutes per workout, and you want to try to get that at least 180 minutes a week is optimal. Even more is better, to up to 240 if you can, but 180 is kind of the optimal number. But try to get at least 45 minutes per time. So doing short little bursts of zone 2, like doing, say, 15 minutes or 20 minutes is probably not enough. So just like walking around the house, things like that, is probably not sufficient to get really a zone 2 workout. But walking, any type of, even like office work on a treadmill at a low speed is probably sufficient. Hiking, any kind of these we'll talk about activities here in a few minutes. But basically, the benefits of zone 2 exercise is about 6 here that I found. So it actually increases the number and efficiency of your mitochondria. Those are the little organelles, little things inside our cells that actually make ATP. They're little little bioreactors that are in there, and those guys actually make ATP, which is what our muscles use. And if your body stops making ATP, you will basically die in a matter of seconds. It's ATP is necessary for life, and all your cells require this ATP to function. Zone 2 increases your performance as an endurance athlete. So interestingly, going slow to go fast is actually kind of interesting. So the more zone 2 you do, when you want to go fast, you'll have more ability to do it. You'll feel that you have that range of exercise, that depth to go a little faster, a little bit further. It improves cardiovascular health. It improves work capacity. So interestingly, it improves ability to even lift, say, for example, weights without even training with those weights. Just zone 2 improves the ability to lift a certain amount of weight. It prevents injury, aids recovery. So this is particularly important as we age. Preventing injury is very important. So zone 2 exercise is safe. Obviously, if you have any cardiovascular risk factors, consult your doctor before any exercise. But zone 2 is light exercise is generally considered safe for most people. And it also boosts mood. So that that's when you're hiking or biking on the trail, you see folks who pass by, they're happy, they say hello, good morning, they're happy. They're often in zone 2. Whereas zone 3, 4, and 5, as you're at higher levels of work, those you cannot, you can't basically have a conversation in those. You have one goal to finish that workout. And I actually want to mention too, some of those exercise health centers will have like cardio movie theaters where you can go and work out. And that's actually a perfect zone 2 exercise. Get on the treadmill, slow speed on that. You can actually watch a movie while you're working out. That's a good zone 2 workout. That's I think that's the kind of the idea of those cardio movie theaters, which I always kind of wondered what those are for, but that's probably one of the things. So happy to pause here and answer any questions.
One thing I was going to make a couple of comments. One, if you want to know what's your simple resting heart rate is do it in the morning when you get up. If you measure your pulse for 1 minute, that's a basic. And when you're exercising, you ideally you want to probably get onto zone 2 is about 50 to 70% increase, so probably 60, 70%. So those are some of the common things that you can do. And again, having a conversation that will keep you another way to do it non-scientifically. And another thing, some of the walk and jog exercise that will get you from zone 2 to a little bit higher. So this way, so you can be between zone 2 to zone 3 and benefit from both of those things. But overall, as long as you just do it, and even some simple exercise, there are many studies done show that even do 10-15 minutes of brisk exercise after the meals decrease your blood sugar by probably 12 to 15%. If you do half an hour more exercise, it probably can reduce it by 30%. So these are the scientific things you can, and many organizations, many things, they have shown that really this is really beneficial for overall and longevity.
Is that the concept, Abbas, of that? I know we were talking about that digestive walk. Is that more for blood glucose or blood sugar, or is it more for digestion, or for both?
For everything. So I think a very common thing, if you go to Europe and other countries, they do walk in the evening times after the meals. When you swim a meal, and depend on how much you eat, it usually doubles by fermentation, because most of the carbohydrate, other things with acidity there is just like raising dough. In 45 minutes doubles. So then you need to have some contractibility of the stomach to digest the food, break it down. And if you go 10-15 minutes after the walk, one, it helps to digest the food. The second, it helps you to utilize some of the energy, and then consequently your blood glucose comes down. And then in the evening times, then when your stomach is empty, you sleep better, you don't reflux, and then consequently for your overall well-being is work. So it's a that simple walk, and that most people they do. And unfortunately in the United States we work so hard all day, and then come a big dinner, we are exhausted and go sleep on the couch and go to bed. So those simple 10, 15 minutes, even 3 times a week, we can break it down. That will help with a bit overall well-being. Usually during breakfast and lunchtime, we are up and about doing something. Is the dinner times, I think, is the crucial. The digestive work is very, very important, and I think will help with diabetes, hypertension, and many other health issues.
I'm curious, and just hear what you have to say about this is cancer prevention and exercise. What do you think is the link? We clearly see it in studies that folks who exercise have reduced cancer rates. Do you think it's like better metabolic health, better cardiovascular health, better reduced inflammation, or do we really know how it works?
I don't say we don't know exactly what it is, but generally a general well-being of the life. And I think once you exercise, you choose your food wisely, and you eliminate faster. I have to tell you about a patient of mine that he was in mid-70s, and unfortunately he lost his wife. They were married for many, many years. And he had reflux, he had constipated, he had bloating, he had fatigue and all of that. And I found out like for past year and a half, his best partner is gone, and so he had no friends, and he was depressed and all of that. And he was taking so many medication for reflux, for constipation, for arthritis, and I knew him from before, and I knew he would not live not far from the office, and happened to be a YMCA nearby. I suggested to him, he says, you should go there. He said, I don't know anything. He says, I said, what do you do in high school? He says, I swim. So I said, well, you have a good swim. Just go over there, put your foot in there, just do some walking, stuff like that. It happened, I didn't see him for almost 5 years. He came back for follow-up colonoscopy. But I says, you don't need that. He says, oh, no, I'm going to live long. He says, oh, that was the best advice you ever gave me. He says, I went to gym. I started walking gym. Then I was swimming a little bit. I did the first time I had to stop 2-3 times. Now I am in the swimming pool. All the young kids come over there, watch me, that I can swim for over half an hour nonstop. So I'm just become a whole fan club on there. So his constipation was good. He says, I'm eating much, much better. I have more social life, and I have hardly ever had anything for reflux. So he says, I think I'm going to live another 5-6 years. I want to just make sure I do a follow-up. So really a simple exercise, and that's not only for preventive wanting, it's just, I think, overall well-being, and just elimination of the stool and all of that, for colon cancer, for many other things. I think just and it boosts your immune system. I think many cancer starts from inflammation and lack of movement, and one of these things, as you know, every time we have inflammation, we have repair, and when those repair cells takes place, and when that doesn't obey the local laws, and then becomes cancer. So I think when you do this moderate exercise and moderate lifestyle, I think that prevent overall being and decreases cancer. But I think the science will tell us in future, and probably some people they already done some work that will relate all of these things to that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's like an exercise. Essentially, you gave that patient an exercise prescription, is what you gave him, and he followed it to the T plus. He really really did it. I mean, that's amazing. What a neat story.
He just changed his lifestyle. He's really,
Yeah.
and he found a whole social thing that he was feel like belonging, and then from there, he makes so many friends in the pool, and people that come talk to him just because how he does it, and he says, well, what he learned in high school, that he was so he suddenly come to rescue him, yeah, I mean, this is one example. Many other people, they just need simply just get out of the couch and do it.
I think that's great advice for every all of us. I think is great advice.
Exactly.
Okay, looks like we were going to talk a little bit about WHO criteria for exercise, and we're not going to get too into the weeds on this one. Just kind of a overview, and just talking about that different type modalities of exercise, and maybe something about and we'll finish up with we'll get into dietary supplements a little bit and talk a little bit about our personal interests and how we do this, how we exercise.
The WHO and other things that, again, a very, very similar type of criteria. Again, 30 minutes per day, and can be different exercises, and you can break down them in at least 10 minutes you have to do to get to that zone. So at least 10 minutes of exercise, at least 150 minutes for moderate exercise. If you go to vigorous exercise, 75 minutes is adequate. And the type of exercise you can do is they should have no excuse. You can sit on the couch and do lifting. You can do chair yoga. You can do chair tai chi. You can do many other exercises that there. And of course, if you have stationary back, that's another way. If you there to begin to start losing some weights, then of course, if the weather is appropriate, hiking, walking. If you like to more disciplined, go to a gym on a regular basis. Some people, they like to document how much they do, but it's mostly as long as you do it, I think you can do. The household works, such as vacuuming, gardening. These are all considered there. Some of the example I give to some of my patients is help your spouse wash the dishes. Washing dishes, just doing their 15, 20 minutes. And that's perfect example. The people, they stayed at home and they go to a nursing home, suddenly they lose that daily activity and then becomes more disabled, they become more decline in functioning. So even you do the daily routine, walk into your to the mailbox, or if you're at the office, using stairs instead of elevator, and just using the stairs 2-3 times a day, that's by itself increase your heart rate, increase your metabolism, and make you stay in conditioning. So those are some of the example. I know you can add some other things to it, but I think overall you just have to look at your lifestyle and just put about half an hour a day, I think, for exercise, another 10-15 for mental stability, and do yoga, meditation, and well-being. And I think that would reduce many of the medication needs, and as well as help you sleep better and overall for longevity.
So one of the big things that is kind of interesting is that and so we're both based in Colorado Springs, and it's kind of interesting as the city has grown. The number of gyms has gone up dramatically. I mean, literally, it seems like every mile or two you drive has a gym popping up, and different brands of gyms and other things. But I think it's important to say that gyms really aren't necessary. You can, and I think a gym has a great social aspect to it. It's kind of fun. You can have a buddy or a class that you go with, and that's kind of a neat way to do it. You can just go there and kind of hang out for a couple hours, and so usually different modalities. There's saunas and other things too, and we can certainly we'll get into. We haven't really had a conversation about hormesis. Maybe a little bit we talked about sauna, things like that, but we can have a different talk on that. But the gyms have a variety of different things you can access, which makes it convenient. But a gym is not needed to do this. Literally, even if you're confined to a chair, you can do exercises, as Boss mentioned, and or even just going outside. Just simply walking is going to be a great option to start. So yeah.
And being in Colorado Springs, we have so many hiking trails, and so you can go for a hike, take your dog for a walk, and I personally during summertime I do a lot of hikes, and I'm really lucky next to the mountain. And a couple other things I do on a daily basis. I stretch when I get up in the morning. My personal favorite, I took several courses of in Tai Chi. I think the Tai Chi warm up stretches from head to toe. It takes 5-10 minutes. Of course, the longer you do, just get the body moving when you get up and before you go to bed. And then if the weather is bad, we have a station back the front of the TV. After dinner, then even 10, 15, half an hour in the evening time. So there's no excuse, as you said, stay in zone 3. And for vigorous exercise, I play pickleball probably 4 to 6 hours a week on the weekend if I'm in town. So combination of the things. I think one thing you do, it can wear and tear in your body, but I think when you combine those things, you feel better, and consequently, you sleep so well. When you gentle exercise and you stay hydrated and make sure during the day less fatigue. I consider my work just like an athlete. I try to stay in shape so I can do a good productive, stay focused and work. And I think I can tell when I'm exercising, and my wife can tell that that's when I'm exercising, and my mood is better, my work habits is better, and all things. I have tried to incorporate it always through my life to do some kind of exercise.
Yeah, I agree. And for me, it's during the summertime. Yep, hiking and also stand-up paddleboarding has been something that I've gotten into. My wife and daughter, so the three of us will go out we'll find a lake somewhere and just go. And I was kind of surprised. Colorado, we don't have tremendous shoreline or lakes, but we actually have enough.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's places to go pretty much wherever, within 20 or 30 minutes. We'll drive out and go stand up paddleboarding. It's actually a great both cardiovascular, pretty easy to get into zone 2. It's a good core body workout too. And then the winter we'll do skiing. Skiing is a little challenging sometimes because it's quite vigorous for maybe for 10 or 15 minutes as you go down. Then there's a period on the lift where you're not really working so much. So skiing can be a little bit tricky in terms of workout, I've found. But also if sometimes adding a little bit of uphill walking or a little bit of that'll give you a little extra cardio, or supplementing with a little bit of other indoor, like I'll do some elliptical workouts and things like that in the winter time, just to get a little bit more cardiovascular. But something I'm going to start doing is using my elliptical machine I have at home while I do some of my charts. So right now I often do them at my desk in my office, and I realize that I'm spending a lot of time sitting. And so what I'm thinking is, if I can do a zone 2 workout on my elliptical, maybe I probably can do some of that chart review and other things from my my workout room. So I'm going to try that, see how that works a little bit. So
yeah, another is snowshoeing. I skied for many years, and sort of now when the weather is appropriate to do snowshoeing is really pleasant and comfortable, and you're in the nature. And that's another thing during the winter times. If there's adequate snow here, Colorado Spring will do so. So there should be no excuse. You just have to do it, whether from on your chair, whether you do it station back or go for a walk or a group or any social events. We have many walkathons in town for many different purposes. And not only you're helping the society, you're helping yourself as well. So I think, as Nike says, just do it.
Okay, well, we look forward to your questions. So if you have questions, please, feel free to hit us up on any of the platforms. We have our emails in the show notes, so you can reach us at those emails, and feel free to drop us a review. That'll help others find the podcasts and video content. And thanks everyone, and we'll see you at the next episode.
Thank you.